Hiya, welcome back to SharkSmithAngling. Today I thought we'd look at some reels, and what I was going to do with these reels, they're a Daiwa SPLOSH reel, and they are I love them. They're a real good reel, and some of my mates have got them as well. I think there's a lot out there that use these reels, and what I want to do is I've just serviced one. I've got 4 of these reels, and I just want to go through it with you to make sure that everybody who's got one and strips it down, if they get stuck on how to put it back together, that's what I'm really doing it for, really, just showing you where to grease it up, etc. I mean, I've had this reel, this one here, that's 20 years plus, that is. This one here is 20 years plus as well. And this one here I bought 2 years ago, which is, yeah, it's not got the scratches on it and stuff. It all looks quite nice, but I mean, it works just the same. It's slightly bit looser, but you wouldn't even know the difference. You know, 20 years plus, 2 years ago I bought that, and the reels really just look the same. There's nothing really in them. So that's how quality they are. You know, I don't leave them on the boat, I bring them home. But yeah, it's a good quality, what I call a good quality reel, a good quality reel, and a good all-round reel as well. I've got this loaded with 50-pound braid, and it'll do most of your fishing, really. Also, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a drill to undo the screws and stuff, just to make it a bit quicker, and that's how I normally do it anyway. I'm so used to using drills at work and stuff that for me to use a screwdriver would be a bit, you know, I just like using my electric drill. It's not for everyone. I know you should use a screwdriver in case you round the nuts off, but if you're careful and stuff and you've got the right size bits, brand new bits, I can't see a problem, really. Yeah, so enjoy the video. All right, I'll talk you through it all, and then we'll go from there. All right, so this is the Daiwa SPLOSH Sealine X40 SHA. That's the name of them there. I think that's round the wrong way, actually, but there's nothing I can do about that. But anyway, that's the reels they are. Yeah, and I love them. I'll buy another 4 tomorrow. So without further ado, I'll swap onto the other camera just so you've got a down vision of me working. All right, so I will see you in a minute and I'll talk you through it. Thanks a lot. Right, here we are. So we got Dwarf drill, which is a screwdriver. Tools you're going to need is I've got a couple of tubes, one of oil and one of grease. These are nice to have because they've got the nice tips on them, so you can put it exactly where you want it without getting it all over your fingers. So that's a good little tip. Just buy the small tubes of it, it's quite cheap. I've got a little tiny flathead screwdriver, just so I can get some, you know, I want to get a washer off or whatever. Got a couple of screwdrivers in case I've got a bit of a tight nut. And I've got the actual, the little spanner that comes with the reels, which is a brilliant little bit of kit. You can keep it in your box, anything goes wrong. So, you know, that's it. So first thing we do is we'll undo the rod mount. This is a secondary rod mount, and what I do with this is once I've taken this off, I just remove it from the whole thing. So two sort of nut screws come off, and then you want to take these off. You've only got to undo them because they just come off easy. Just slide along and come off. And what I do with that, on the last one, this was all white with salt. What I do then bits is I just get a little cup, put some vinegar in them, and while you're working on the drill, on the reel I mean, just drop them in some vinegar and you'll be amazed how they come up. They just come up, you don't have to do nothing, just shake them in the cup and they come up, all the salt's gone, and yeah, they come up just like that, spot on. They just wash them with a bit of clean water and whack them back on. So right, let's get this side out first then, which is on this side, it's not the star drag side, it's the other side. Screws are all the same size, you ain't got to worry about where they go. They're all the same. So that comes off, which is the cover, and pull that off. Keep that on there if you want, it wouldn't hurt. Just keep that with it, and just put it all along in the line how you took it off, and that way that comes off there. And on this here, if you was using it for casting, this is a boat reel, so I don't have to cast or nothing, only slightly cast out. They'd have some brake blocks on these little sleeves here just to slow it down when casting, but obviously there's none on there because you don't need it when you're just using a boat reel. But that's it, it's all nice and clean. Yeah, so I just put that to one side. I mean, that's it on that side, as easy as that. The other side's a little bit more tricky. Just put your screws over all in a line so you know they're all there. I put a towel on here because we've got some gaps in this table. It's an old-fashioned table, and I did it without it, and straight away screw went straight through the gap in the table. Oh, no, nightmare. So first job we're going to do is take this little nut out of here, the lock-in, which I can do with this one. There's a little lock-in screw that goes on the handle, which I always find them a bit of a pain because they do sometimes chalk up. Just watch as that comes out, it don't drop on the floor because they're so small. There it is, just a little tiny one. So that'll go there. That enables you now to get the nut off the handle, and that's not really tight. It should only be hand tight, that should really. And then put that over there in the line where you took it off. Now when I took this handle off, this handle was absolutely solid with salt. So what I did is I got a bit of vinegar and I just dropped it on there, left it about 10 minutes, and then come back and just give it a bit of a wobble like that, a bit of a shake, vibration, and slowly it just come off. It was a lot tighter than that, a lot tighter, but that's all you need. Once that's off, you know, you can get to all the bits you want to get to. But that's it there, there's your handle. And obviously with this handle you've got a normal handle in the middle, and if you want to make it into a power handle, you put it on the end there, look, and that gives you a bigger wind, which I prefer to do actually. And I've had these reels 20 years plus, and I've only just moved them out to a power handle because I only just found out. So, you know. Right, so let's get this. There's a little tiny washer in here, and you can get it out there. But with this washer, it's the thickest washer in the whole lot of it. It's slightly thicker. So if you remember that when you're putting it back together, if you do get the washers mixed up, because to be quite honest, when I started this, I've done it all, laid it all out, spot on. And when I come to put it back, I couldn't really remember how I did it. And I started to get it all around the wrong way. And once you start touching it and putting things back to front, that's the trouble. But if you know, now that washer there is a lot thicker than all the rest of them. So you know that one goes on the outside of the star drag handle. So put that to one side. Right, now the handle should come off. Now this handle's a nice handle because it's these 40 Sealines. These actually click, these handles. You can hear it, which you don't get on the 30s and stuff. It's just a normal star drag, and I like that little bit with it. But when you undo that, there's nothing falls off here apart from the handle itself, and that's all there is. There's nothing else in there. No bearing or nothing. That's just things. So just give that a clean out. That ain't too bad anyway. All right, put that to one side. And then this is the, I think that's the clicker that goes on there. So that's the little piece there that goes just underneath the star drag. And then there's two washers. These washers, I'll just tip them off because they're easier to get off. So there's two washers now, and these washers are a lot thinner. So if you check the one that's on top of the star drag to that one there, as you can see, it's twice the thickness. So just remember that, it's worth it knowing. There's four of them little spacer washers in this part here, so you'll sort of get to know. Now on that as well, as you take them two washers off, you can wait and take the top off. If that will come out, like it will, there's another spacer washer, which is a little tiny round washer, which just goes on top of the bearings. So just put that in line as well. Now everything else there, I'm going to take this off before I undo this side, because just to show you what's in here, and this is just to make sure that the spool is level and it's not rattling. So it's just, you just do it up tight so there's no movement in the spool. So that spool isn't going like that in the cage. It's just nice and smooth and nice and snug. All right, so inside of here is a little tiny pin which tightens everything up, and there it is there. But what you've got to be careful on there, on the end of it, it's got a little tiny, like a T-bar, and that T-bar comes out, just releases off it. If you drop that on the floor, you probably never find it again. But that's it anyway. All right, just give that a wipe down. I'll keep that on there because it's always best to keep it on there, otherwise you might lose it. Just leave it like that. All right, put that in line. All right, now it's time to take this apart, which, now on this side, there's 4 screws around the gold plate, which are all the same size. And then there's 2 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's 2 screws on the back here, which are slightly longer. So just bear that in mind. They're not much longer, but they are longer. It's always best knowing exactly where they are. So that's it. So now that should come off, just like that. There's nothing really in there to go wrong. The actual clicker there on the actual releasing the spool, that all stays there. If it's not really bad, just wipe it out carefully. If not, you'll have to undo that and take it all apart and just put it back together. But it's pretty simple. Mine's not too bad, it's pretty well oiled up. So I'll leave that like that. Just be careful on it, because if you pick this up now, the actual main body, there's 2 springs there which will just fall off. So we'll put the 2 springs over there, and it's quite easy to forget them when you're putting it all back together. You get it all back together and then you think, oh no, nightmare, forgot the springs. So that part, just remember that. Now this bit here is the bearings. So the bearings go here, so we'll put the handle over there, put the bearings there. Then there's a thick, heavy plate. What I'll do is I'll take all that off at the same time, I think. There you go, make sure you're pushing down on that, because that is quite stiff. Right, there's a big thick plate there that goes downwards like that. Then there's a rubber, put that like that, they all go in there. Look. I'll take that off. Yeah. That rubber, look, was over there, just sits on there like that and keeps all the dust and the grease out from it. Alright, so what we got inside there, got to be careful to get no grease inside it or oil. So we take the rubber seal off, and then inside there is washers, and this is your this is to try and get your braking on the not really your braking actually, it's your strength of your line retrieval. When you've got something strong on, you want it to tighten up, and this is what this is for. This is to get your star drag tight, just so you can pull stuff in, you know, especially if you're hooked on the bottom or something like that. It's a nightmare. So what we do is we take these off as they come out, and in between each of the washers is a fibre washer. There's a little fibre washer. They're all the same, but you've got that normal first one, the last one on I should say, or the first one off is a round circular. Then there's one with ears on it, yeah, and then another fibre washer which is the same, exactly the same, no different. All right, and then just a normal one again, exactly the same as the other one, and then another fibre washer. Get them all out, because otherwise if you lift it up in a minute and you might lose it. All right, that just leaves you a nice clean brass that needs cleaning out, get all the muck out of it, and that's that's quite easy. Now this bit here, this is another fibre washer that goes on the underneath that washer there, and that comes out. And just remember that one, that the way you take it off, if you turn it over, your clicker's going the wrong way. So make sure as you take it off, make sure you keep it the same way round. Otherwise, when this starts to click into it, it won't work. Now, if you have a look at that, the way that's working, I actually took all this off. I won't do that because it takes a bit of time getting it back on. But this is just a little spring underneath there, a little tiny spring. Not much, but as long as that's there like that, absolutely fine. Give all that a clean up. I use WD-40 and then just wipe it all over. It seems to come up really nice. And just make sure all the grease is gone and stuff if you're putting new grease on it. Sometimes you can just get away with an oil, you know, if the grease has been done. So that's all done now. So the cage is all nice and clean. All right, I've sort of already had this apart really, just to make sure that it all goes well in the video. So you know, nothing worse than trying to get a screw off and you're waiting for me. So basically, if we get the grease, don't need much, but you need enough just to cover it as it goes in. All right, that's nice. Bit of grease on there, and a bit of grease on there. Just any moving part really. That's it. Nice one. Right, now we can start putting this back. So if we drop that on, pull that out. So you see the way that works? Just clicks in. Now if that was put round the other way, it'd obviously just keep winding, and when you go to stop your spool, it would just keep going. It wouldn't stop, it would just go backwards. So that's what that's for. Then we've got a fibre washer on there, which you can put a little tiny bit of oil on that, it wouldn't hurt. A little bit of oil on that, nice one. Just put that down. Alright, and just put a little bit of oil on that as well, because that's nothing near the star drag system. Comes out quick, that does, cool, bloody hell. Right, now we'll drop that on there. I'll tell you what I do first, before it gets on there, is I'll grease all around that. So we put some grease all the way around the outside of that nut. Just a little bit. There we go, as it goes around it'll take it all in. There's enough on there. Right, might end up getting a bit on your hands as you put it in, and drop that down on. That's it. That's lovely. Alright, so make sure there's no grease or any oil inside that little section there. And here we go, we drop these in exactly the same way as they come off. Just make sure you wipe all them. I'll get a bit of dry tissue. And just wipe all them before you put them in. If there's any oil on them then. Alright. Even the fibre washers, just make sure they ain't soaked up some oil. Drop them in. Then there's this one. And this is the one with ears. Got two little loops on. Then the fibre washer. Then the last one. and then on top of that, give that a wipe as well. All right, it's a dust cover, and that goes on, and it just flicks around there like that. Then we've got this heavy sort of washer or spacer. That drops down. There's a hollow side and a flat side, so it goes hollow side down, and it should just go down onto there. All right, just like that. All right, we can put the 2 springs back on now. That won't matter, which is nice, just in case you forget. That's the 2 springs on the thing there. All right, now we've got the bearings. All right, that sits on there like that. And now actually we can get the actual back on it now. That's all greased up. All the moving parts are oiled up. I'll just put a little bit of oil on that little bit there. That's it, just because that's quite fragile, that bit. And as you're putting this on, just be careful that this bit hasn't moved. You haven't moved it, because it's got to go just behind here to push that in and out, so it disengages the spool when you push that on. When you push that over, that disengages the spool, so obviously it lets it free run. So just remember that. So just check that everything's in there. I think it is. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. You can actually put that on as well, which is the little tiny spacer that goes. It's the smallest washer, but it goes on top of the bearings. All right. Now that should all sit nicely, and it should just snug down. Just make sure that you pull that backwards and forwards. That's working lovely. You can see it working. That's perfect. It's going to spring up because you've got the springs on it. So just make sure it's down. And what you can do is just drop the screws in. Just do one end and one the other, just for now, and then you can. That's it. I'll go over this with a hand screwdriver afterwards, just give them a slight little tighten, and just make sure that all works, which it does. It works lovely. All right, and drop the other screws in. I love these reels. Alright, and you can put a little one drip of oil in here. Alright, and that goes in there. That drops in. Remember that little bar, don't fall out, let it sit down in there, and you should see it drop right in. That's great. Put the lid on. Alright, now we can, before we put that bit together, we'll put the star drag back on. Alright, which is quite simple. It's the 2 smallest, thinnest washers, so whack them on. You've already put the small spacer washer underneath, which is the little skinny one. Alright, get these on right. Alright, which is there like that. Then there's a clicker system for the star drag, and there's another little tiny, because I took that off, there was a little tiny washer in there, which is a little, it's a slightly smaller radius one, so remember that. Alright, and then just make sure there's a little tiny bit of oil. Don't want too much, because this is what you don't want it to run into them bushes. So just start it off with a little tiny bit like that. Maybe just do that with your finger, and then perhaps just give it a bit of a dab off. and then start the spinning this on. It should go on nicely, just like that. You'll be careful here because obviously it goes round. And what you find is with this clicker, if you do it up tight like that, right, there's a little tiny bit to push in, so it flicks up inside it, and you just go like that with the screwdriver, and as you click it in, it should, there you go, it's gone up inside. And then once that's gone up inside, you can wind it right down. All right, so that's the star drag on. Then we've got the thick, if you remember, we've got the thick washer that I was telling you about. And then the handle. Well, I have it on the power handle, so it's the one right at the end. Then we put the nut back on. You don't have to do this up tight. You really don't. That's all I do, is just do it up tight and then put it to the, just so that that sits right with the hole, so that the actual locking screw can go in. And these are a pain, because if you can't get these screws back out, it's the only one really you're going to struggle with if you can't move it, which is a nightmare really. But really are a pain. And mine are a little bit rounded off as well, where they were a bit. Here we go. Just making sure, of course, if there's a little burr on the end of it, it's a nightmare because it won't, it goes next to the, I think that's it. Obviously there is a screwdriver on the end of the special spanner that comes with it, but that's it, nice. And that's done up now. That works lovely. Right, now the other side. Now what I didn't tell you, it fell out actually, is there's a little bar that comes out which goes along where the line comes out, and it goes down in there, look. It just goes straight down in there. So there's a little hole there, that goes down in. If you forget it, you've got to take it all apart. So that's it there, look. Then you put the spool in. Make sure that, I sometimes sellotape these up just so that the line doesn't get caught in nowhere, because it is pretty hard. Get that on there. Alright, that's gone in nice. See, the lines come out the side of it, if you can see that. Let's just make sure that you pull that out. Once it rolls around, it shouldn't be a problem. Alright. Now basically that's it there. Oil up the little, clean up all that in there. Make sure it's all grease free and stuff, and then and put a bit of oil in there as well. Bit in there, look. Alright. And that's for your brake blocks really, which we're not using, so that's not really, just clean it out and give it a slight smear of oil, and that's it really. Alright. And just remember how this goes. And what's good about mine is I can have a look at one just to see exactly where it goes. So that's going to be there like that. It'll only fit one way, so just go round and round until that goes right. Just make sure that obviously the spool won't turn yet because we've not got no tension on the star drag. So just be careful. Alright. That goes on there. That's sitting nice, so we'll put a screw in there. Put one on the other side. We know that's nice. So used to using these drills at work. I've been using them for about 30 years, on and off. Obviously you just got to be careful with the trigger, just really lightly with the trigger, and it's not too bad. Obviously these just stops the drill. Right. Lovely. Clicker. That all works lovely. And that now, when that pulls out, so when we undo that and sit it in the rod ready for when we are fishing, we put that clicker on, don't we? That's going to be, that's the noise we want. There's nothing like that noise when it goes off. Normally when you've got a cup of tea in your hand or a sandwich. And then when we tighten that start, give it a couple of tensions. That is tight. So that's working really well, because you could give that another 4, but I couldn't even pull that. Yeah, that's tight. So that's absolutely brilliant. Just release that, you don't want it as tight as that. And we just put the back, these are these back ones. You don't have to undo them, just put them in, slide them along, and then do them up with the screwdriver. They go right back till they stop. I love this. I bought these reels, they do that. But on this one, which is a Shimano Terinos, they don't do that. You have to leave them on. So the annoying thing is with that is you have to wait. You have to literally take the spool out to get them on, which is really annoying. But once they're in, but obviously to put it on the rod you don't have to. But it's a good idea with these Daiwa SPLOSHs, the way you can undo that and take it away and put it in the box or whatever. But that's one of my sharking reels. That's a really lovely reel. Love it. Just got to christen it with a big shark. Right, so that's that one on. Put this one on. Do the same again. Make sure it clicks tight back in there, otherwise it won't fit there. That's tight, see? That's tight. Put that over the top. Wind them on. You can put a bit of grease on, put a bit of oil on them as well. Just keep them well oiled up. They're already oiled up, so I've done them the last time I did it, and I haven't been out of it since. Just do them hand tight, because you don't want them coming off and losing one. It's obviously going to be in your box or in a bag or whatever. And that is the full job really. Move that out of the way. There's a bit of grease over everywhere. And that reel, I think it's about 22 years old. Switch that off. Absolutely perfect. Brilliant reel. And you can hear that when that clicks in this. Can you hear that? And that's one of the things I really like about that reel, knowing that it clicks on that star drag, just so you can hear it working. So yeah, so that's it. Nice. Just to get you to put them back, you know, together if you get stuck. You know, there's a video here you can go back to and have a look, because I know I've been stuck, no doubt that you will. Anyone who takes it apart, you get mixed up now and again. There's a lot of bits to it, but yeah, great reels, can't say enough about them really, and really long lasting. Got an old pen here that I've had for probably 30 years. It's a cheaper class reel, but it still keeps going. And the clicker on this one is so good. It's so loud. clicker system, which is you know, twice the sound of that. But that's another nice reel. The components on it are quite easy to do. I'll do a breakdown of that one day. That's a Penn Long Beach 65 Penn. It's quite a nice reel. One of the old ones, you know. I tend to stick to these Daiwa now, you know. So that's it. Thanks for watching. So that's it. That's how you put one of these Daiwa. It's a Sealine X40 Daiwa SPLOSH SHA. And that's how you take one of these and service it and put it back together. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe, hit the like button, as that shows YouTube what's going on, that people are liking the channel. Yeah, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later.